The directory service is just like a lookup service, just like the traditional telephone directory those times. So you have the name of the city, the name of the individuals who are connected to the telecom company. So you have their names, you have their addresses, you have their contacts, you have the places that they stay. So the same thing with the directory service. So directory service means that we have some information about the user, we have details about the user, we have user accounts, we have passwords, we have some information about the user. And then anytime we need to look them up, we can just go inside the server and then check for all those things. So that is a traditional understanding behind the directory service. But when it comes to the networking aspect, we are looking at trying to set up a service where people can log on to the service, use it, and be able to log out, so that at any point in time, we can have different people accessing one service from different computers. So we can have about, let's say, 10 people who can access this service by using 10 different computers, and they can still log in with their own username and their own passwords without having to having to access somebody's account. So that's what we call the directory service. You can have one on Linux, and then there's another one on Windows. But then the Windows one is the most popular one. So that is the Active Directory. Then the service that we run for Active Directory is called LDAP. LDAP is used for either the Active Directory or the directory on Ubuntu. Okay. So as a network admin or somebody who's doing computer networking, you should be able to know how to install or how to set up the Active Directory or any LDAP services. So on the Linux, we have Open LDAP. I will not talk about that much because most of the times you want to use the Windows one, which is very easy to install and it's just straightforward. So it will allow for centralized management of user accounts. So even though there are so much that you can do with the Active Directory, you normally want to look at how to do manage on the network. By managing this, it means that you're managing their accounts and probably the computers that have been signed onto the domain. Okay. So we're supposed to do these steps. We're supposed to install Active Directory on Windows Server, which was supposed to run on the virtualized server. So we'll say VMware, and then we're going to create organizational units, users, and then add a computer to the domain. Okay, so I'll step out of this and I'll go through some of the steps with you right now. Network server. So normally what you do is you go to your server manager, you go to your server manager, and then you go to tools. You go to tools. And then you say, I want to add some features. I do the right thing. I think manage. Okay, that's manage. So sorry, you go to manage, and then you do add roles and features. So when I click add roles and features, it brings me here to a dialog box. This before you begin installation test and server selection. So I can say skip default, but I don't do this, so I just do next. And then I say, okay, it's role-based or feature-based installation. I use the default, just the default, and I go forward. So this as well, the server is already selected, so I go next. There's an AD running on this, so I wouldn't continue with the server. I just want to show you how it is done. So what we do is that once you come to the server rules, you select this. This will not, the Active Directory domain services, you see here it shows it is installed. But if you are doing it for the first time, you won't see it. Once you select, you click. So like I'm using this one, so you have to click on this and then it selects, but we will not be doing this, so we don't like this. So you check the active domain services. And then once you do that, it's going to check the DNS server as well. It's going to add network policy as well. So the defaults for the roles for Active Directory, it will check them automatically. You go to next, you just follow the default. Next, you go to next, until what you finish and you say install. But since we have one here, we won't go to the process like that. But I want you to understand how we install it, so that at least the steps can be it can be maybe something in mind that anytime you meet a server, you can go through it. So I'll cancel this. You go to manage. Anytime you want to install any role or any feature on the server, you go to manage, you do add roles and feature. You go to next. These are default, next, and then you select which role. So apart from the Active Directory, you can have other like other services that you can want, or roles you can install on the server. So we have IIS. There's some IIS somewhere. Let me see. Web. Okay, so this one, what I'm just checking the web. So this web is used if you want to install a web server. That's what we use. So you can install this server and then you can put your website on them. So like the way you see people, you go to the web browser and then you can visit the website. If the website is hosted on a Windows machine, this is what they do. So they install the web server and then they go next. They do some configuration. Then they install the server and then they can start running the web server. Then you can also put your stuff on it, and then you can be hosting your website on their service. So that is it for the Active Directory. Now, once you are done with the Active Directory, once you are finished installation, you can still go to Server Manager Tools and you go to Active Directory Users and Computers. This is where you manage all the users on your network. So why do we do this? We want people to have a centralized area where we can work on. So we have computers, we can sign on to this domain. So what we do when we install the Active Directory, what we have done is that we have created a domain where everybody on our network can sit on. So we have a server running the ADS, and then every computer that we have in the company has been joined to the network domain. So it means that every computer that we are working on is sitting on a domain. And then every user who is supposed to log into the computer should have a user account. Without a user account, you cannot log into the machine. So if you're an outsider and you're coming into the workplace, you cannot log in unless you have a user account and a password. So we do this so that our workers can have the liberty of logging into their machine, not only into the machine they use, but even when they go to different offices within the same company, they should be able to log in into other computers and work from there. So imagine you are at HR and you're supposed to do a work at maybe finance. You don't have to carry your computer to finance because you are all on the same domain. All you do is that when you get to finance, just get any machine over there, log in your credentials, and you're good to go. So you can run policies where you can save your documents on the desktop or documents, and anywhere you are in the company or your industry, any office you are, you can just log in and you can have access to your files. That's the reason why we have Active Directory. So that at least instead of using your pen drive and stuff into machines and all those things, you can do away with that, and then you can stop maybe viruses from running within your network. So that's the idea behind Active Directory. So here we have on your left side, once I open this one, on your left side, we have some objects here. So in Active Directory, all these things are called objects. What you see here, they are objects, but they have names, but these are all objects. Call them objects. Any folder or content you see here is called an organizational unit. This is a user's organizational unit. Trying to add an organizational unit is very simple. All you do is that you right click on any OU, and then you go to new and you say organizational unit, and I say free IT skill up. So once I do that, I see, can you see so this is the what? This is the organizational unit. Then from here, I can say I want to add the user. So I go to new, it's very simple. I go to new, I go to user, and then let me type, I will say the first name is Foster, and say the last name is, let's say, C, and then I give you a username. So I'll say Foster. I'll say Foster K or anything. Then it becomes, I say next, I give you a password. I can either select, so you can always select this thing. So you can do user machine password at the next one. It means that if you set up this account, the person will have to change the password once he logs on for the first time to a computer. If you don't want to do this, you can also do what? User cannot change password. So the person will use only the default password. But it's advisable to use this. And then once the person changes the password, we come to select what password never expires. So you don't have to always come and reset the password for a person. So we'll do this, and then we'll leave this one out. Then we say next, and we are finished. So on the left side, you have the organizational unit, free IT skill up. On the right side, we have a user in that organizational unit. So these are some simple things you do on the Active Directory server. Knowing these steps will be good for you. So you can have this account, you can manipulate this account, and you can just double click the account, check the user, you can see so you can even add the telephone number, email address. You can maybe type in the office that the person works in. You can go to this address, check this, add all these things. So I told you it's like a directory service. I told you those times the telephone services, they have your address, they have your location, where your phone, when you call, where you're calling from, they had all those things. So it's the same thing for the Active Directory. Only that this time we are not doing dial-up services. We are only doing how to access our individual computers and services on the server. So that's how we do Active Directory. Then the next thing you do is how to reset password for users. So when you are administering the network and people say they've forgotten their password, or you can either get a third-party software to handle that, or you can still do it from here from the back end like this. So you can just right-click on the user and say reset password, and then good, you're good to go. You can type in the password for the person. It's very easy. And that's all you do. Then for the computer side as well, if I go to maybe these computers, so on the left side is an OU, on the right side are computers. So these are computers of the organization which are in their domain. So anybody who wants to log on to this computer should have a username and a password. Should have a username and a password. So anybody who wants to log on to these computers, all these computers should have a username and password. So it means that anybody who enters your company without credentials cannot use any computer at all or inside the company. Only people who are authorized to use the computers can use it. So that's the beauty of Active Directory. It's not anything that is really difficult. You just need to read more and then maybe understand a few tricks around it, but you are good to go. So that is it. Any question on Active Directory? I want to step out from here.
So I'm trying to take my mind into an email. At times when you want to, let's say you are applying for school, an international school, yeah. Sometimes they ask you to sign up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you sign up, they give you some how do you call it, some temporary password through your a password through your email, and they ask you to log in with a one-time password, and later on you change whatever. So does it mean that they are using something of this sort?
So it is similar. That one is not active, right? That one is they use an exchange server, but the exchange server is more similar to what the runnings of what Active Directory. So the exchange server also runs what a directory service, which when you sign on, it will create accounts for you. It will give you the option like I just showed you, for you to click on a link and then you reset your password. So that's an exchange server, or we call it mail server. So it's either you are saying an exchange server or a mail server, and that's what we use for emails.
Okay.
We do Active Directory. You manage your users and account. Then as a network administrator or somebody who is doing computer networking, you should be able to monitor your network. It's very important. So this is more like management side of what networking. So network management, there are two related concepts. There are two. So one is what the process of what configuring, monitoring, and managing the performance of a network. So as a network admin, as somebody who is administering your network, you should be able to tell the performance or the throughput of what your network. If you have a network and everything is becoming slow, that means that you're not working well. You have a network and only some people are able to use the network. Some people are not able to use the network. It means that you're not administering the network well. So you should be able to what? Configure, design, configure, implement, then manage and monitor the network. So that at least you should know the performance of every segment of what? Your network. When I say segment, I mean your subnet. So if you break up your network into different subnets, they should be able to know the performance of each subnet. And then the platform. So in network management, the process. And the next thing is the platform or the software you're going to use to monitor the system. So if you only have the platform or the software, if you have the application and you don't know how to arrange your network well, then managing it or monitoring it will be useless. The same way, if you are able to configure your network well and you don't have any software to monitor, it means that you cannot manage your network. So you can only be going around, moving from office to office, trying to find out if there's a problem or not. And that will be very cumbersome. But if you have a system that is in place that can monitor your network at the point in time, can tell you that these services are down, this server is down, this device is down, and you can just move there and then sort the issue out. That is what to make your work very easy. So the network management application or monitoring tool, what it does, it collects data from your devices through SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, SNMP. So it collects data from your network. Then it gives control on how devices should operate or interact with each other. And then after doing that, it keeps track of what the device is doing on your network. So it gives statistics. So maybe bandwidth, how long it has stayed alive. When was the last time the device went off? Who has logged on to the device? Who has done some changes to the device? So you're able to monitor all these things. So you look at fault detection, issues. If you have solved some issues, how long did it take before the same issue came up again? So these are things that can give us an advantage when we are monitoring the network. Then we have other devices, other systems like ticketing systems, just like we have for MTN and maybe Airtel. If you call them right now, they tell you, okay, we are going to log your problem into the system and then we'll call you back. So it's the same ticketing system. If you have the means, you can develop some or install some and then give to your desktop help desk, so that anybody who complains about an issue on your network, they can have a ticket. They can generate a ticket, and then once that ticket is generated, it is assigned to a staff from the network department. Now, once you go and solve the problem, you come back. You come onto the ticketing system. You log in, and then you report. Right, it is done. Then now the ticket is taken out of the system. So monitoring what provide information to determine what is normal and what is not normal on the network. So it tells you when to upgrade, because sometimes if your bandwidth usage is very poor, very low, people are using your bandwidth and you feel that what I have now is not cannot cater for the kind of traffic on my network, then your statistics will tell you that we are using this bandwidth maybe 2 megabits per second, and now we are doing a lot of work and the network has become slow. So you want to upgrade to maybe 10 megabits bits per second. So it will inform you on when to upgrade, and then it can help you keep public trace of what changes. So if there are upgrades on a server, if there are upgrades on a switch or a router, the monitoring system can be able to tell when these things happened, how it is performing now, and then if there are any issue, you know that maybe my updates or upgrades didn't help me, then you go and change it. Then it can keep history of what network operations, like events. So this is where logging comes in. So anything that you do on the system, it goes into a log. Every event is logged on the system. So you can just move to the log server and check every event that has going on your host device. So what are the things that we monitor? We monitor system and services. Like I told you, if a service is running on your server, you need to monitor it. If there's a service you are working with on the network, you need to monitor it. Why do you monitor it? Because you don't want it to go down. Why do you monitor it? Because you want to check the statistics behind the service. Those who are using it, is there an overload on the usage of the service? So we monitor resources. When we talk about resources, we're talking about our switches, we're talking about our servers, our routers, our important gadgets on the network. So we want to check their availability. Are they online? Are they on? Are they on at all the time? You want your services and services to be available. Now, if it is off, it means that they are not available. And the network administrator, you can't afford to allow your devices to be off. So your monitoring system will tell you when these things are happening to your device, and then you go and then you work on it. Performance, so how your device is functioning, the CPU usage, all those things you can be able to tell from monitoring your system. And then changes and configurations, like I told you, like every event that happens on the device is logged into a logging system on the machine. So once you connect your server to monitor those events, you're able to tell configuration changes. You're able to document some of the changes that you have done onto your device. Like I told you last time, that if you are going to do a change, you should have your configuration saved on the notepad, so that even when you are doing the changes, you have a backup. So immediately these changes, these new ones you are doing doesn't work, just switch back to the old one, and then you start all over again. So there are key parameters: availability, reliability, and performance. These are key things that you should be looking at. Availability is what you want to make sure they are on. Reliability is that they are connected, they are working. If you have to do 1 gig, you should be doing 1 gig. You should not be doing half of the gig. So it is very reliable. And then performance, you are looking at bandwidth, the port usage, the CPU, RAM, disk, the processes, are they working fine, or they are working optimally? Do you check all those things? So availability, we have a tool we call Nagios, which we use to check availability. Then reliability, we have a tool called Smoke Pink. And then performance, we have CACTI. CACTI will read the bandwidth usage behind the port on the switches or the routers. So it can tell you how much data, how much bandwidth the users of your internet or your network they are using. And if you think that this bandwidth, what you bought from your ISP, is not the same as what you are seeing on your traffic analysis, you can call the ISP and say, please, I bought 1 gig, but why are you giving me 500 meg? And they tell you, oh, we didn't know, please fix it. So it is your CACTI that can tell that you are really using the bandwidth you bought from your service providers. Okay, so I will show you how we monitor our stuff here using Observium. So you can check this one out, Observium. So I log in here. We have populated this with what? With the devices. Now, how do you get the devices here? how do you get the devices here? So like I did yesterday, I'll show you how we do it. So on a switch, on a server or on a router, we configure SNMP. SNMP is used for monitoring. Okay, so I'll do show run like we did last week, show run, and I'll show you the configuration for the SNMP. Okay, so when you look at this place, this side, SNMP, where I've selected. So this is the command we use. So on every switch and router, we do SNMP server community, and then we tell the SNMP that we are setting here that please try and dump every information on this switch on this host. So this IP address is the address of what our monitoring server. So we have a server that will push all this SNMP tracks. In essence, you configure the switch with SNMP. Tell the switch that please, I want you to. So we call it traps. Good is a trap. So trap all documentation on this device, and then put the trap on what 38.5, so that anytime we want to use that trap, we can go and fetch it. Now on the server as well, I can go to Google and say install SNMP on my server. So maybe server 2012. And you see, so on the server, these are the steps. It tells you open control panel, select programs, click on program features, click on 10 features on or off, go to simple network management protocol, click the box and click OK. So that's very, 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 very simple. So let me go back to the server that we went to. Let's check if we can see that. I say manage, add roles and features. I go down straight to this place. They're asking me to continue, so I go next. And then here, do I see SNMP? I think now I can see SNMP. Okay, so that's it. So this one is already installed. So SNMP service. Okay, so I don't need to continue. One is installed, I don't need to continue. I do this, and then I select this one as well. So I won't do this. I don't touch my server. So you go to next and you say install, and then install a feature. So the essence is that for you to know that is the SNMP that we configure on the servers, the switches, and the routers, so that we can be able to connect them to our monitoring server sitting somewhere. If I want to add a new device here, I'll go to device and I say add a device. So I add a device. And then I type the IP address for the device. So I say 172.16.38. Maybe let's say 5. These are all default. I don't do anything here. So I will go to the community. So in the switch, you saw that the switch was SNMP server, and then it said community, and then it gave some passkey. So you saw something like Ssendacom. So that was the community. That is the community is just like a string, just like a password. Let's say it's just like a password. Even though it's not a password, it is what a text that is used to connect to the device. So I can say type our string here 16com, and then I do add device. So the only thing I do here is the host name and then a community. And I say, okay, add this device. I don't think this device will add because it's not on the network. So we said it's adding, but the couldn't ping because this is not on this machine. It's not configured, so we can't have it on the monitoring system. So now let's assume we are the ones who did all of this additions. So I want to check what is happening to what. Maybe I have configured one for my ISP. So just like you are seeing, if I click on this device, I will get a graph and performance of what the system, whatever is going on in the system, because I have configured the system to send all these traps into this machine. Now I am able to tell what is going on on the system. So this is a router. This is a gateway router. So when you come to the right side, the processor. So on the router, the processor, that's how it's working. So you monitor it. You see that it has a steady flow. But if this thing is spiking to what, like 100, then what? There's a problem. Now we go to the memory as well. Memory tells you how much memory is using. So out of 2 gig, it's doing 1.57 gig. And this will also tell you the amount of work your router is doing. Because if it's doing more than half of the RAM, it means that it's really working. Just like your computer. If your computer, you are doing a lot of stuff, you use up memory. So the same thing happens to what? Your router. So it tells you the power going through as well. So you can see the indicators. There's power. It shows the power. It tells you the fan. There's a fan. The fan is up. If the fan is off, it means that you are talking about heat. The heat can damage your system. So these are metrics that you can monitor from every device. If the devices that are more important to you, make sure you monitor them. Then on the switch, you can actually on the router, sorry, you can actually go to the ports and check what is happening on the port. So on this side too, when I go to ports, I know that on the first interface, this amount of bandwidth I'm using. So on this interface, you can do 1 gig bits per second. And then I can check the graph and see how much traffic I am using. So here, look at the traffic on the right side. We are doing, so the first one tells me I'm doing like about 100 meg of what transfer on the 1 gig. So I'm using about 10% of what my 1 gig. I'm doing like 100 meg. So these are metrics that can show you the bandwidth usage. And then this interface as well, we'll check what is happening here. This one is doing up over 800 meg. Over 800 meg. So on every interface, or what we call the internet ports, they are doing you can read the metrics of every one of them and get to know what is happening on the ports. Say you have about 1 gig data, and you say, okay, I don't want the whole company to use all the 1 gig, so I'll give them only 500 meg. So you can cap it to 500 meg, so nobody goes beyond 500 meg. Now, when you cap it and you see that at peak hours, maybe in the afternoon, there's so much traffic, then you can come and open it up so that people can hit the 1 gig. And also, if there's no cap, and then you check that you maybe from your design, you want people to be doing like 600 meg, and now you come and check and it's about 800 meg. It means that people are doing some things that they are not supposed to do. So you go into the switch, reconfigure, and cap it to 600, so that people don't misuse your data.
Please, sir.
Okay.
I want to ask, what if you cap and they can't go beyond let's say you cap it to 600? So when they get to, let's say, 600, what will happen?
So what happens is that it's like running water in a pipe which has been locked. So you can't go beyond what you are doing. So the water in the pipe will just be hitting the ends. It hits the ends, it comes back, it hits the end, comes back. So what will happen is that the resource will be shared amongst each other so that people don't go beyond what they are supposed to do. So it means that if you are doing like 800 people and they are doing 800 meg, let's say everybody's supposed to do 1 meg, and all of a sudden the thing is peaking, it means that somebody is doing more than 1 meg. So you can say that one individual is doing more than the 1 meg. So if you cap it, it means that you can evenly spread the bandwidth across the users so that everybody can use the bandwidth that you are supposed to use. If you don't cap it, it means that somebody can just come and say, I'm downloading movies. The person will just put in so many stuff in the torrent there and just leave the machine and go. Now that person is exhausting all the bandwidth. Maybe somebody has to do office work. And then because you are doing torrent, the network becomes so slow that somebody who is actually working now cannot even have access to the internet to work. And that's the reason why that's the more reason why you need to cap it so that the bandwidth will what evenly be shared amongst everybody. And that's where subnetting also comes in. So if I subnet my network and I feel like the IT guys do a lot of work, so let's give them about 50 meg for them to use on every day. And I feel like administration, all they do is they type, they print, so they don't need a lot of bandwidth. Let me give them 5 meg. So we can also do that as well. So that even before it gets to the router, on the distribution level, you are what segregating the bandwidth to everybody to be using them what per what their needs will give them, and this will help you save data. Okay, so we have a lot of tools that you can use for monitoring. We have another one called PRTG, but I think if you get Observium, you should be able to monitor your network with Observium. Then Nmap, I think Nmap, we did Nmap extensively on the cybersecurity class. So Nmap is just for vulnerability testing. You want to check your servers if there are vulnerabilities. So that's when we use Nmap. So I think I spoke about Nmap when we're doing the cybersecurity last class, how you can check which services are out of date, how you can check if they are up to date, and if you have to run maybe an attack on it to see if it will work. So sometimes if you are a network engineer or an administrator, you want to run vulnerability assessment on your your devices and check if they are robust or they have issues. If they have issues, quickly you resolve it. If it's a patch issue, you patch. If it's an update, you update. If it's an upgrade, you make sure you upgrade. And that is what we call vulnerability assessment. So that one, Nmap can do it. Okay, so let's finish up with the few commands that we have to finish on the Cisco Packet Tracer, and then we can close maybe at 8 o'clock, maybe 12 minutes from now. We have to set some password as well. We're here. Yesterday we're here. So we enable secret password. We do user admin privilege. What. So here, the AA model is just access. So how do I log into my switch or my router? So that's what AA does. So you see that from this, when I did exit, you see it came here. When I do enter, it goes straight to the standard user access mode. Now you don't want this to happen. And that's where the AA comes in. You want to log in with a password before you can even come here. So you want to like allow for remote connection, so that if somebody is connecting remotely from a different location, the person shouldn't just come here as the first time login. They should ask you for a password before you can come to the enable area. So we say we go to the enable. I type my password. Right now, forgotten. It's password 1. I mean, I go to conf T, and now I say, okay, I'm going to set up an account. So I want to set up a user account, admin. So I can do username, admin, and I can use my question mark to tell me the options that I can use. So I will add a privilege. So the options are password, if you want to specify a password, privilege, if you want to set a privilege for the user, and secret. So I want to set a privilege. It's an admin, so it should be a root user. So I say privilege, and the level is from 0 to 15. So if you say 15, then the person is a root user. So he has all access control over this device. Then what next? They say I can use password or I can use secret, but I want to use secret. But password, if you do password, it is it's only password is not hashed. So anybody who has access to your switch and that show run will see the password. But if you use secret will encrypt it. So when I run show run, it will not show the clear text. So I do secret, And now it will ask me to type what? Specify hidden secret will follow. Okay, so let me use password. Let me use password because I'm going to run another. I'll run something that will cover all these things. So I'll use password. And it tells me to specify a clear text or something. So let me say password 1 and say enter. Okay, so I've done that. Can I do show run and see what is going on here? Show run. Okay, so please, can you see what I just did? You can see the password. You can see the password,
Yes.
like I was telling you. If you use password, it just shows you the password. The enable secret, you see, when I use the secret, it didn't show you the password. It gave you an encrypted version of what the password. That's it. So that's why we use secret. Let me go back. Then now I'll do a new AA model. AAA. So I say AA, new model. So like I explained to you, the AA is what? Okay, so accounting, authentication, and authorization, like I said. Accounting, authentication, authorization. So I say new model, say enable new access control commands and functions. It disables old commands. So this one will enable people to be able to what? To access your device. Now, why do we do AA? We do AA because anybody who logs in, the event logs will show. So if it's admin who is logging, it will show that admin logged in. If it is Daniel, it will show that Daniel is logging. That's why we do AA. So that anybody who comes in onto your device, you can be able to tell that, hey, Chama went there. Did the person receive authorization to go and do any editing? If no, then they ask you, please, why did you go inside there? What did you go and do there? Did somebody ask you to do any change? If it is no, it means that you are doing something fishy. So we do new AA model. I enter. I do counting. It's authentication or counting. Authentication. Authentication. And I say, what's even there? Login. So allow authentication for login for default, and it should what? Local. So you see, local, use local username authentication. So we set up a local username. So now I can use, if I say local, it means that use all the local, the names I have set inside the router, use them to log in. So you don't go use any other thing. So if you do group, so you can set up group for that as well. So we'll use what we have done on the device. So I say local, and I enter. And the last one is authentication, then enable. Let's see, enable to default, and we see what. So enable, use enable password for authentication. So we say enable again, and we enter. Now let's exit and see what happens. Okay. Once I say bam, can you see what is happening? It's asking you to enter what? A username and a password. So currently, anybody who hits your device from outside of your network or from outside the location where the switch is staying, you have to what? Enter with what? A username and a password. And I hope I've not forgotten this. Okay, I'm inside. Good. Remember, still our password is clear text. Show run. I still have this password, which is still in clear text, which I have to work something on. So I go back to my configuration mode. Then I run a command, which we say service. So even in the configuration, it's there. So this one, so here, no service password encryption. So currently the default is no, but because you have clear text here, clear text, clear password text, and you don't want this to show, now we'll run service password encryption so that all these things will be encrypted, including these ones. So I run service password encryption and say enter. Now let me show run and see if it has encrypted my password. So that is it. So if you can see here, this line, you see that now I don't see any password. Instead of the password one, I am seeing this figure here, this hash algorithm, hash text. Okay, so let me go back to this and then try and show you what you do on there. So this is the switch. Let me connect a computer to the switch. I told you I can do console connection. So let me take a console connection. This is console. I take the console, I connect to the PC. It will go to RS232. I go here and I say console, bam. Let's see if it will connect. So for the first time I'm doing configuration, physically, this is what I do. So there's a computer, you connect the console cable to the switch for the first time. And then we see if we can configure and do some configuration. Let me go onto the computer. So this is my computer. Let me see. I go to desktop, console. I run console from the terminal. So I go to the terminal. I look at all this. This is correct. I do okay. Okay, I'm on it. So this is a terminal. So once I come to the terminal, you see that I'm inside a switch. So that's how we do the connection. So physically, we've connected the computer to what? A switch. And you connect the console cable. The console, because we didn't do any, we said that the transport was none. If we are done, we have used some transport criteria to have asked us for username and password. And because we didn't do that, once you connect the console cable, bam, you are inside the switch. It's not a good practice to do. So you have to set what? Password on what? The console as well. So you can either connect via the console, or you can connect from what? You can connect from SSH. We don't have any IP configured on the switch now, so we can't do any SSH now. So we have to go back to the switch and configure an IP address. So there's no IP on this switch. So if I want to configure an address, I have to configure it on the VLAN one. So interface VLAN, I say 1. I'm inside, and I say IP address. I say 192.168.10.2/ can I use slash? Okay, /255 /254. Let me see if it work. Okay, so it's asking me to put everything there. 255.255.255.2.0. Okay, it's working now. Now I say no shut. So once I say no shut, we see the link come up. So let me do show run and let's see what has happened on the configuration. So I have this, I have that, I have AA model, I have username, all my interfaces are there, and then I have VLAN 1. So this is the IP address 192.168.10.2. So now I have an IP address on this device. Since I have now done an IP address, and I told the layer 3 works on what? The network layer. So once there's an IP address, now I can use my normal cable and connect to any of the ports here, which is already in VLAN 1. So I connect this. I can configure a DHCP server to give the machine an IP address. So, okay, IP DHCP, and then I can do pool. So let me do pool. Pool means that I want to give a pool of addresses. Then I can do pool name. Let me say local LAN. And then I say enter. I'm in the pool. So I say network. Network will give me what? The network number in dotted decimal. So I can do, I'm doing 192.168.10. The network will be .0. And the network mask will be 255.255.2. 255.255.0. This, so it means this, by doing this subnet, you want to use only 254 devices. So this is /24 network. And then what else can I do here? So I do default router. Default router will be, let me use, for now, let me use 192.168.10.2. Let me use a switch as a default router. And it is asked, okay, I say okay. IP DHCP. And I say what? Exclude from 192.168.10.1 to 192.168.10.5. All I'm saying that there are a particular range of IPs that I want to do static. I don't want to assign IP. So if you start assigning IP, please don't add those ones. So let me see if I now have an IP. Let me see if I can get an IP address. Let me go back to IP configurations. IP. Oh, okay, it's a static. Okay, I can do a static IP. I'll come back to the 168.10.10.3. And it gives me that. I do, okay. I don't like that one. I do this one. I do pings. Let me ping and see. Once I pick, I should be able to read. Now I'm reaching it. So you see the pings is reaching it because I'm on the same network now. Let me check the DHCP is working. DHCP requesting IP. Good, is there 10.6. So I have a DHCP here. If I connect this switch to this one, like I access and I connect another computer to this machine, I should be able to get an IP address. So it means that I can browse on the network. So this, if this and this comes up, it means that I should be able to what? Browse. I should get an IP address on this machine. Desktop, IP, DHCP. Currently, I'm getting a switch address because this particular place is still offline. Once it comes on, then I should be able to get my IP address. So I'll go back, I'll go and search, okay, I'll search. And then I have a 10.6. So the same thing will apply to me getting another switch here. So let's say another block, this is another block. I have a connection to this, to that. And then I have another machine here, another machine on a different block, and I connect this to that. So anytime I connect, I wait for an IP. If you want to browse, you wait for an IP. If there's no IP, you can't browse. So you wait static, there's nothing here. So I go to DHCP and I wait for something on an IP address. So this 169.254 we call it an APIPA. APIPA is a switch address. So if you get this IP on your device, it means that you are not able to get IP address from what? Your DHCP server. So, okay, currently I should be able to get it. Come back, 10.8. Okay, it's there. I've gotten it. Maybe this is what time it permits us to do. I believe you've gotten the idea around what I was doing. So in January, you apply again, then you go over the course again, and then we'll try and get, maybe in January, we'll get somebody else to teach the networking so that there will be variety. So I'll move from here to a different course, and then somebody will pick up this course, and then there'll be varieties.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, and have a lovely evening.